Guys, what are we doing now? Hips. So remember, hip is a ball and socket joint. Should have tons of mobility. If you're sitting at a computer desk, guess what? It's pretty much stuck in one position. And then you are pretty terrible typically with external rotation, sometimes internal rotation, and then extension. So those are three movements that are pretty key for overall body function. So where are we gonna start with first? Pretty much your hip internal and external rotation. First, we're gonna do the MSA approach. M, myofascial release. There you go. So the first one we're gonna work on is the glutes. You're gonna sit on that bad boy, cross the leg. Whatever leg you have crossed, that's the hip you're gonna work on. You should have already kind of been doing this one from our report of findings day, but if you haven't, here's your review. You're kind of getting the glute, you're getting the piriformis muscle, which is a muscle that attaches to the hip, to the sacrum area. It can give you some side issues if you're not careful. So just work that bad boy, 10 passes. If it hurts a lot, 20 passes. If you want to scan the area and stop where you have a knot and then do your pin and stretch, that's lovely too, okay? So hit both sides. And then now what you're gonna do is a new one is going to be your IT band and your TFL. TFL is your tensor fasciae lata. So it's a muscle that attaches to the top part of the pelvis and kind of goes to the side of the hip. So if you were to look at his pants here, tensor fasciae lata is about this big, and his IT band his TFL blends into his IT band and comes all the way and attached to the outside part of the knee. So here, he's gonna start the hip on this down leg, and he's just gonna work down the side of the leg. He's getting a little bit of the front because he's really attacking that TFL type area. Now you can go to this, break the leg up into thirds. You can hit the top third, middle third, bottom third, okay? Now, argument's sake, IT band is a fascia. Should you be beaten up on a fascia? Probably not. It's not a muscle, you can't really do it. But we're not sitting here hammering it for a little bit. Remember, you're just going up a few passes, trying to get that tissue to move. He's honestly hitting more of his lateral quad area. That's really where a lot of times people have a lot of trigger points attached to it, okay? Now he's going to transition more to the quad muscle. That's just the thigh, from the hip to the front part of the knee. So you can go both legs at a time, or you can do one at a time. If he wants, he's got a lot of body weight going into just this one quad. Now I kind of like to do is you find that knot, once he has that knot, bring that foot up and down, sit there and dig that bad boy out. Sometimes, since my hip flexors are pretty stiff, I will hold it here and the muscles at a lot of tension. Then I'll now go up and down, and it just is an extra added sensation to it, okay? Pick your poison. So now we've sat there and done your glutes, IT band, quad. Now we're gonna hit the inside of the leg, like your groin, your adductor muscles. So what he's going to do is now he's moving the foam roller parallel to his body, and he's bringing his leg out to the side. You can either start in kind of close to the knee and work to the groin, or vice versa. This one is one that a lot of people would neglect. You look kind of weird in the gym on ground in this weird position. So who cares what other people say? You want to make sure your knees are okay and your hips are okay, okay? So don't tell those people, hey, go get a foam roller. All right, that is your adductor. So remember, glutes, IT band, quad, inner groin, just for kind of flow. Honestly, I just stay in this position and work the other groin and then go to my quad and go to my IT band, just for flow, so you're not rolling around the ground forever. Okay, here's the S part, the stretching. So we're really gonna prime the pump more with this movement. You're just kind of getting some internal and external rotation. We're in a nice, safe spinal position, laying on your back. You can also do a little bit of your deep box breathing, which is what we're gonna really hammer on here. But what I want him to try to do is get in a good pelvic position first. So kind of arch, flatten the back, arch, kind of getting that, and then once you've kind of felt what the end ranges are, get in a good neutral position, because we don't want his pelvis to be rotated forward, because whenever he especially internally rotates, it's gonna pinch and it's gonna hurt, and you'll know it, okay? So he's in a good neutral position. His feet are a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and what he's gonna do is drop one knee to one side. He's gonna do internal and external rotation at the same time. So he's flowing this way, then he's just flowing that way. You're just pivoting off the heel. Now, how to know if you're wide enough? Whenever you're, especially the internal leg, if his knee is like really far on that side, you kind of want it straight down, so he's getting good internal rotation here. So that's perfect. Just like that. Good. So if you're pinching somewhere, breathe, relax, tuck the pelvis, do what you can. That pinching is not a good thing. It's an impingement syndrome. That's probably why you're coming into a chiropractic care to align your pelvis, because maybe your hips are pinching or popping or clicking. Now, once you're kind of here, it might be tight. You might feel like, man, that thing is really tight. We're gonna do what they call a hip sleeper stretch. So what he's gonna do is gonna put one leg on top of the other one, and he's using this leg as weight, okay? He's going to internally rotate here. Once he gets to like, hey, that's my in range, breathe. But then he can also lightly externally rotate, so his foot is giving him resistance. Do it for a few seconds and then relax. See if that weight can kind of pull it down. Take a nice deep breath. Good. Try to push against it and then relax. See if you can get that new movement. Good. I like to try to breathe every time and relax. Good. See how I got an extra 10 degrees off that motion? Then we'll go the other direction. Good. Same thing here. Now, why are we working internal rotation of the hip? Actually, the bottom end of a squat, if you have terrible hip internal rotation, it's gonna pop, it's gonna pinch at the hip, and then it pinches, your body doesn't like that, so it'll actually cause the dreaded butt wink type thing to kind of give you that extra range of motion because you're pinching at the hips. So if that's you, this is going to be something you really wanna work on. So I typically do 3 kind of push, relax, with some breathing at the end. That is the hip sleeper stretch. Okie doke, so now the next progression. Your hips are hopefully nice and warm. What you're gonna do now is get into a 90-90 position. So what that means is this is 90 degrees and this is 90 degrees, okay? So you can even have the ankle joint. Everything's in 90 degrees. If you forget, 90 degrees. All right, now you're going to squeeze here. You're building core spinal stiffness. And since you probably, unless you're a crazy athlete and used to doing these things, even if you are a crazy athlete, you probably compensate like crazy and your hips are terrible, this might be a new movement for you, okay? So what we're doing here is we're doing our box breathing. Remember, 5, 5, 5, 5. 5 in through the nose, hold for 5. 5 out like you're blowing out candles, exhale, and then hold for 5, or 5 rounds. So there again, 90-90, 5. We're trying to keep it simple here, guys. So he is nice and tall. He is just trying to work on this new position that he just spent the foam roller, the digging, and the other sleeper stretch. Like sometimes that stuff is painful. He is trying to reset the body here into this new position. Then all he would do is switch to the other side. Now, the cool thing is, with this one, he's gonna keep on working on just the breathing part, but go ahead and give you a little caveat. In the future, we're gonna make this actually a little bit harder. So if you're slacking on this stuff and not doing it on a day-to-day basis, it's gonna be fun later on because we're gonna make you push, we're gonna make you lift, we're gonna make your body move, we're gonna make sure you earn this movement. So before you sit there and tackle hip flexion, hip extension, all those type of movements, which are great and they're important, you suck at internal and external rotation of the hip, you're just gonna wind up messing up your cartilage in your hip. So this is super important that you tackle this first and then we progress to other things. Have fun.